China has become one of the most influential external players in Africa's development over the past 2 decades, reshaping infrastructure, trade, diplomacy, and even cultural exchange across the continent. Here's a breakdown of how China is helping and shaping modern-day development in Africa, along with the benefits, challenges, and controversies surrounding this growing relationship. Background: China-Africa. Relations. China's modern engagement with Africa accelerated after the year 2000 with the launch of the Forum on China-Africa Cooperation, FOCAC. This platform formalized political, economic, and development cooperation between China and African countries. 2. Major ways China is shaping Africa's development. 1. Infrastructure development, roads, rails, energy. China is Africa's largest infrastructure financier. Examples: Addis Ababa, Djibouti. Railway, a major trade corridor linking Ethiopia and the port of Djibouti. Mombasa, Nairobi standard gauge railway in Kenya. Hydropower dams in Ethiopia, Gibe, Ghana, Buidam, and Zambia. Highways, bridges, ports, and airports across West, East, and Southern Africa. These projects are often built by Chinese state-owned enterprises, SOEs, using Chinese materials and labor, but they provide lasting infrastructure for African economies. 2. Trade and investment. China is Africa's biggest trading partner, over $250 billion in trade by 2023. China imports oil from Angola, Nigeria, Sudan, copper and cobalt from DRC and Zambia. Other raw materials: timber, minerals. China exports machinery, electronics, textiles, construction materials. Chinese foreign direct investment, FDI, in Africa spans mining, manufacturing, agriculture, and real estate. 3. Technology and telecommunications. Chinese companies like Huawei and ZTE have built much of Africa's telecom infrastructure. Expansion of mobile broadband and 4G, 5G networks. Development of smart cities, surveillance systems, and e-governance tools in cities like Nairobi and Kigali. This has enhanced Africa's digital infrastructure, but raised concerns about data privacy and surveillance. 4. Education and capacity building. Thousands of African students receive scholarships to study in Chinese universities. China has built technical and vocational schools across Africa. Language and cultural exchange programs, e.g., Confucius Institutes, are growing on many African campuses. 5. Health and humanitarian aid. China sent medical teams, vaccines, and PPE to African countries during the COVID-19 pandemic. Investment in building hospitals, clinics, and malaria centers in countries like Guinea, Tanzania, and Sudan. 3. Benefits for Africa. Massive infrastructure growth at unprecedented speed. Alternative to Western aid models, China emphasizes mutual benefit and non-interference in domestic politics, technology transfer, jobs and skills training in some sectors, increased political and economic leverage through partnerships, IV criticisms and controversies. 1. Debt concerns. Some African countries have taken large Chinese loans for mega-projects. Critics warn of debt-trap diplomacy, though evidence is mixed. China has restructured or forgiven debts for some nations in crisis, e.g., Zambia, Ethiopia. 2. Labor practices and local impact. Chinese firms often bring their own laborers, limiting job creation for locals. Reports of poor working conditions, cultural tensions, and lack of environmental safeguards. 3. Uneven development projects often favor national prestige, e.g., stadiums, parliament buildings, over long-term economic transformation. China's strategic interests access to raw materials and markets for its goods, geopolitical influence in a continent rich with UN votes and strategic locations. Soft power expansion through education, culture, and media. 6. African agency in the relationship. It's important to note that Africa is not passive in this relationship. Many African governments negotiate their own terms, and some are pushing back against unfair deals. African countries are now seeking more balanced partnerships, emphasizing value addition, local hiring, and joint ventures. 7. Conclusion. A complex but transformative relationship. China is undeniably shaping Africa's modern development, filling infrastructure gaps, expanding digital access, and providing alternatives to Western aid. But the relationship is complex, marked by both opportunity and risk. The future depends on how African leaders negotiate, how transparent and inclusive the projects are, and how much local people benefit from the investments.